Today we're into Duskmourn Standard to try to stick a flash threat or two and then counter everything our opponent does until they finally give up, all on a 15 rare budget. Let's play some Mono Blue Flash. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Budget Magic. And this week, we're heading to Duskmourn Standard for a deck that I'm very excited to play with, but good lord, I do not like playing against, which is we're playing some Mono Blue Flash on a 15 rare $82 budget. And this deck, I think, might actually be pretty good. We got some really powerful new Flash cards in Duskmourn itself. We got really good counters, so the goal of the deck is pretty much stick a Flash threat or two and then just like counter everything our opponent does, draw a bunch of cards, and hopefully tempo our way to victory. So let's talk about our Mono Blue Flash deck, what it's trying to do, jump into some games, see it in action. So we start off with the reason this deck exists, which is Enduring Curiosity. If you think back to when Mono Blue Flash was one of the best decks in the format, and really it wasn't even Flash at the time, it was like Mono Blue Temple, the Curious Obsession deck. What made that deck so good is you could play a creature and stick a Curious Obsession on it and just draw a ton of cards to snowball the value, make sure you always had threats, always had counters. Enduring Curiosity, a little bit slower because it's 4 mana, but it is card draw on steroids. Whenever any of our creatures deal damage, we get to draw a card, and if our opponent kills it, it comes back as an enchantment, so we still get to keep drawing cards. Plus, it's a 4 mana 4/3 flash threat. So this is the card that makes the deck work by generating tons of card advantage. We also got some Flow of Knowledges as a backup to draw even more cards. Our mana base is all islands, so this is typically like 5 mana, draw 5, discard 3, or 5 mana, we have 7 or 8 lands, refill our hand on the spot. So these cards make sure our hand is full. Then we have our flash threats. So the big deal with our flash threats is we really want them to be evasive, because we want to be able to get in attacks with them to deal damage and trigger our Enduring Curiosity. So when the 2-drop slot, Fairy Mastermind, Malcolm also does a bit of looting. Fairy Mastermind might draw some extra cards too. Stoic Sphinx, kind of our finisher, a 4 mana 5/3 flash flyer that is hexproof as long as we haven't cast a spell. So we can just cast this, get it down, and try not to cast anything, and kill our opponent in just a few attacks. We also have some removal-y flash creatures. So Floodpit Drowner, this is the other big new addition. It's like an upgraded Merfolk Trickster. We can flash it in, tap down our opponent's best threat, get a blocker out of the way if we need to, put a stun counter on it so the creature's gone for 2 turns. And if we really need to, because there's like a Shield Raid or something like that that's going to work even tap down, we can always use Floodpit Drowner to shuffle it and the creature into our opponent's deck. And then we have Fear of Imposters, which is basically just a counter spell on a 3 mana 3/2 body, but it lets our opponent manifest red. Little awkward because as a 3/2 it trades with the 2/2 that it makes for our opponent, but still it counters anything for 3 mana, and we can always flash it in and not counter anything, just have another creature for Enduring Curiosity or whatever. Then we have all of our interactions. So like I mentioned in the intro, the real goal of this deck is to take in, stick a threat or two, and then essentially just counter everything our opponent does until they die to those threats. So we have Phantom Interference 3 steps ahead, counter spells that can also potentially make a creature, Get Out can get a creature or an enchantment, Negate gets non-creature spells, Into the Flood Maw deals with anything that slips through by bouncing it back to our opponent's hand, and then we can counter it. Mana base 24 islands is simple as cheap and can be. In the sideboard, a bunch more counters, a bunch more ways to deal with creatures, either bouncing them or unable to screaming them to turn them into 0/2s, and that is Mono Blue Flash for Duskmourn Standard. That's our Budget Magic deck for today, so let's jump into some games and see if we can win some games by countering everything our opponent does and probably really annoying some opponents. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some Magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/MTGGoldfish. All right, Budget Magic time. We are playing some Mono Blue Flash in Duskmourn Standard, and this hand seems pretty good. So what you're looking for with this deck is you need threats, you need counters, and then number 3 is some card draw. I guess Malcolm's about as close as we get to card draw. Meticulous Archive, opponent controlling, perhaps? Because what you really want to do, it's kind of like the old Mono Blue Curious Obsession decks. Ideally, you stick a threat, then you counter your opponent's stuff, and you draw cards to find more counters and threats, and you just tempo your opponent out before they can really deal with all your annoying little blue flash creatures. Found it. Elegant Poller. You're going to Surveil. Well, let's start with a Malcolm. Could get countered. All right, no more lies. Sure. Well, opponent, if you like counters, do we have a deck for you? Opponent, mountain, and Overlord of the Boiler Biggles. Yeah, well, you can get out of here, Boiler Biggles. Get out. Yeah. We don't really want that turning into a creature eventually. Our deck, it does have some bounce. Like, yes, very, very nice. It does have some bounce. But ideally, we would like to keep annoyingly powerful threats off the battlefield because we don't have a ton of removal. Opponent, island, and ill-timed explosion. Sure. 4 mana draw 2, we will accept that. Sadly, can't really flash in the Mastermind because then they'll just kill it. Now we can flash in the Mastermind. Opponent. Oh my god. It's a Lightning Helix. Do we care about this Mastermind? Yeah, I think so. Our opponent has some card draw, so we probably can get an extra card off this. Worst case, our hand is not doing a ton, so we might actually just activate it to to try to draw a couple cards. Opponent, land, and Brotherhood's End. Do we counter? Do we draw? Let's just draw. I think this is fine. So opponent draws 1, we draw 2. Ooh, Enduring Curiosity is very, very good. Sure. You have successfully destroyed our Fairy Mastermind with the Brotherhood's End. Well, play the land and pass the turn. Enduring Curiosity is, I think, the most important card in this deck. Land for our opponent. This is our way to draw a bunch of cards. Does our opponent have a counter? We will counter back here. If our opponent tries to counter, we need this to resolve. This is the big one. We need the cat. We need the cat. Opponent. 3 steps ahead. Yep. Well, Fear of Imposters. We will counter the 3 steps ahead. And now we hopefully get to start drawing cards. I mean, the big deal about resolving the Enduring Curiosity is now if our opponent kills it, well, they could still Sunfall, but if they kill it with a Lightning Helix, oh my god, that's a draw. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, card drawing may have been achieved. We're going to attack with both. Wow, you're going to jump. Huh. Why not trade with the 3-2? Okay. Well, let's just do this now. Get a new hand. And this is when it starts to feel hard to lose. When you just get to sit back with a handful of flash creatures. I know it's dirty Crim Magic, but when you just sit back on a handful of counters and a handful of flash creatures, it feels like you can't really lose. The problem here is we do so many cards. I honestly don't know what to discard. Maybe, like, they don't have a ton of creatures, so maybe the Get Out's fine. And, like, an Into the Flood Maw? Something like that? Opponent. Probably should have just discarded Flow of Knowledge, but I want more card draw. Opponent's gonna Wrath, but Enduring Curiosity. Coming back. Opponent's only got 2 cards in hand. Well, I think it's Malcolm time. Malcolm in the middle. Opponent. Gonna take 2. So now we get to loot and draw. Draw first. Loot. All right, we might have too much card draw now. We only have 3 flows in the deck, and we've hit them all, and we got all the endurance. There's no way we can lose this game. I think it is. It's just a matter of our opponent realizing that we can't lose this game. Starfall Invocation. Sure. Wrath away, friend. Wrath away. We just don't care. Stoic Sphinx. Opponent's gonna 3 steps ahead. Well, 3 steps ahead. You're 3 steps ahead? Who's 3 steps ahead now? Jeskai Control. Draw a couple cards. Now we will start discarding flows. And, I mean, with this deck, we almost never want to tap mana during our turn. If you decide to play the deck, that's kind of the idea. We get to draw, play the land. And our opponent needs... Okay. Sunfall's actually good. We don't have a counter for that in hand. The problem for our opponent is we do have a bunch of flash creatures in hand. Opponents. Alright. Sure. Well, the bad news, opponent. Good news is you dealt with our board. Bad news is we have a Fairy Mastermind. And we have another Enduring Curiosity. And we have a Flood Pit Drowner. This gives us the win this turn, right? Our opponent's going to fire up the Incubate, and then we can just Drowner to tap it down and win. All right, go to combat. And hit you for 8. Do we have to go full control? We might have to go full control to make sure this works right. Yeah, I think we do. Well, Flood Pit's Drowner. Tap it down, and that went very well. Opponent had the Wrath, they had the removal, but in the end, a bunch of blue uncommons and Enduring Curiosity managed to take it home. I can't believe I'm playing Filter Out on the sideboard. I trashed that card so hard, but with all the new enchantments running around, it might actually be worth it in this deck. Let's bring in more negates, go down the end of the Flood Maws. They don't seem to have a ton of creatures. They seem like a control deck, right? Like, they're going to do control and then try to win with Boiler Biggles, is what it looks like. Do we want to change anything else? Yeah, I think just, yeah, run it like that. All right, on to game number 2. We are on the draw. This hand, no threat. So I don't, this one we might have to keep and trust the magic gods. We do need to hit land number, being on the draw helps. We do need to hit at least our second land. I really generally don't like keeping hands that don't have a threat in them with this deck. Like, if we just counter all of our opponent's stuff, that doesn't win us the game. We need to be beating our opponent down as we counter our opponent's stuff. Oh, land number 2 is very big. Very big. Rewarded for our greed. Actually, we were on 6, so it wasn't that greedy. Also, because our deck is all islands, Demolition Field, pretty sad. Let's flash in our Malcolm. See if we can do a little looting. We would love to, well, okay, land number 3 is good. That is good. Well, Malcolm, loot us a card. Found it down to 18. And Enduring Curiosity. We'll discard Malcolm number 2. It is legendary. I have never cast a free spell with Malcolm. I don't know what the odds are. Getting in 4 times that's a lot. That is a big ass. Wow, milling the Brothers at end. Roaring Furnace. Yeah, I think we actually got to counter this. Like, killing the Malcolm isn't the end of the world. But if our opponent can turn on the other... Oh, boy, I wish we had a land here. If our opponent can turn on the other room... Come on, land. Malcolm, land. Malcolm. Not a land. Yeah, I guess we discard the Drowner. If they can turn on the other room, the Sauna, and start drawing an extra card each turn, that might let them keep up with us, and that's what we want to avoid. Roaring Furnace. Well, let's negate. Hope they don't have a counter back. All right, at least they gifted us. Well, there's our land. At least they gifted us a card. Malcolm down. We might just main phase. Yeah, I think we just main phase Enduring Curiosity. Don't want to get it countered. If it dies, at least we get the enchantment mode. Well, now I guess our job. Oh, there's the Boiler Biggles. Yeah. All right, Enduring Curiosity down. Ooh, opponent also missed a land drop, though. Man, so many Enduring Curiosities. Do we just run it back? Yeah, let's sit on the counter here. We might be able to counter and make a dork. Well, all right. Instead, Fairy Mastermind. Opponent, taking down the Overlord. 3 steps ahead. Well, yeah, we are going to interfere with this 3 steps ahead plan here. Do a little countering. Well, now we can start drawing cards. I think we're going to go double card draw. Enduring Curiosity number 2. Get in, hit ya. Land for the negate, please. Land for the negate, please. Okay. Okay, that's good. There's the islands. That is all we wanted. So now we don't get wrecked by Sunfall. Brothers at end. Or hopefully Brothers at end. Counter it. Counter it. Opponent. Taking down the Boiler Biggles. All right, another counter is good. Get Out has been impressive. Being able to hit enchantments is a big deal. Well, we get to draw 4 Magic the Gathering cards. Maybe this deck... I don't even know how many Flow of Ideas we need to play because of Enduring Curiosity. Enduring Curiosity is so good. It's so good. All right, opponent. Can you get through our wall of counters? Can you get through our wall of card draw? Can you beat our mono blue flash deck? I don't think so. All right, going to exercise our curiosity. Well, we'll negate that. Opponent's only got 2 cards in hand. Yeah, I mean, I think we go lethal here. Flood Pit Drowner. Tap down the Boiler Biggles and hit you for 8. And wow, this went super well. GG to you, opponent. GG to you. And Mono Blue on a budget, taking down the control deck pretty convincingly. That was a impressive performance. Very, very impressive. Wow. Enduring Curiosity looks like a commander card, but it might just be busted. Sweet. All right. Budget Magic time. We are playing some Mono Blue Flash in Duskmourn Standard. We're going to keep this. Stoic Sphinx being our only threat's a little awkward just because it's a bit on the slow side, but I think it's fine. Gruel. Well, at least our opponent playing the tap land makes me think they're not prowess, which is good. I'm not sure how we line up against the prowess deck. That's the matchup I'm most worried about. I don't know, the hardcore aggro, like turn 3 kill deck. Ooh, opponent gonna do some plotting of a Outcaster Trailblazer. Huh. Plotting is actually pretty powerful against us. Like, we would have just been able to Phantom Interference this Trailblazer, but now we can't. Opponent Outcaster Trailblazer. Sure. And Osier Caslam. All right, well, that's gotta go. You do not get a 6/6 and a free card. And then I think we might just, yeah, into the Flood Maw. We gotta get rid of this Trailblazer. We don't want our opponent popping off with that. It's gonna slow him down. Ooh, Enduring Curiosity. That's a good one. And we got the flow in hand. We have a lot of card draw. So I assume this is probably a Smuggler's Surprise deck. All right, even more likely to be Smuggler's Surprise deck. So it's like the Gruel Smuggler's Surprise ramp deck, I think. So we got to be very careful at 6 mana. And we even got to be careful during our turn because Smuggler's Surprise is an instant. So we got to be aware of that. Well, let's get down to Enduring Curiosity. Start drawing some more Magic cards. Get in, hit ya. Down to 16, draw a card. All right, Island's good. We are fine with hitting our land wrap every single turn of the game with this deck. We draw enough cards that we do not want to miss if we can help it. Opponent Glimpse the Core. Sure. Not going to spend a counter on that. I think fighting the battle of trying to like keep our opponent from getting to 6 mana does not seem like a realistic way to beat this deck. Now let's play the Sphinx. If they kill the Curiosity, we still get the card draw out of it. All right, opponent gonna kill the Curiosity. Sure. But returns in enchantment form. And, well, now we have, I guess, still a 4-turn clock. Get in, hit ya. Draw a card. Well, another counter. Unconditional counter is good. Hopefully between 3 steps ahead and fear missing out, or fear of imposters, we can keep our opponent from resolving their bombs. All right, Trailblazer. All right, sure. Make some mana. And Cactus Folk Sure Shot. I have not seen anyone play that card, but counter and also draw. And opponent scoops it up. All right. Well, turns out a bunch of counter spells pretty good against, man, Enduring Curiosity, so good. Pretty good against the deck trying to play big sorcery speed stuff. So change the equation's very good since our opponent's Gruel. We can bring in a little bit more removal, I guess. Unable to Scream. It's always tough with this deck because in our ideal world, big threats just don't hit the battlefield. we don't want to like make a Vaultborn Tyrant unable to Scream. We want to keep it from hitting the battlefield, period. However, as much as we would like to do that, yeah, the negates are probably not very good. That's not always possible. So having a few removal spells in case something slips through. And in this matchup, if our opponent gets the mana going, like bouncing a Vaultborn Tyrant, not the most ideal. So I think there's a role for Unable to Scream against this deck. Even though, like I said, ideally we still just counter everything and keep our opponent from getting to the point of playing their huge things. Also, why is my arena messed up? I don't know. Just arena things. One more cut. Try something like that. All right, on to game number 2. We will be on the draw. And you know what? Let's try it. I am very skeptical of hands without a threat, but I haven't tried keeping a hand without a threat. I want to know if it's possible. Like, can we keep hands like this with the deck? Like, do we have enough threats in the deck that we can just keep a bunch of counters and trust that we'll draw into a threat? The problem is, as I mentioned before, like this hand, we can counter a lot of stuff, but just countering stuff doesn't do a ton. Yeah, let's bounce this Scrap Gorger. Doesn't do a ton unless we're also being able to attack our opponent. Another island. All right. Could really use a creature, Magic Gods. Creature, please. Armored Scrap Gorger. Returns. Yes. As far as mana dorks goes, Scrap Gorger is not the worst for our opponent, just because it can turn into a real threat at some point. Are we going to counter this? Huh. They also have the creature land we need to be aware of. Yeah, let's counter. Let's counter this one. Opponent. Gonna pass. I mean, I guess we're just on the tempo play, but we're quickly emptying our hand without having any way to refuel it. Yeah, let's bounce it. Keep those Scrap Gorgers off the battlefield. Another land. Ugh. Yeah. Oh no, this is the worst the deck has felt so far. Found it. Commercial District. We're just like slowly losing our resources with no way to gain them back at the moment. I mean, I guess we're getting close to being able to 3 steps ahead. All right, Scrap Gorger, sure. I don't know why we fought such a big war over this Scrap Gorger. I guess for something to do, maybe, since we're not doing anything else. All right, Flood Pit Drowner. That's a creature. We found a creature finally, and a decent-ish one. Land for our opponent. And passing. Huh. Yeah, we'll just untap. All right, more into the Flood Maws. I mean, I guess we're doing okay. Our opponent's at 20. If we had like a single 2/1 flyer, we'd be doing great. That is the downside of our Merfolk, because it is our ground-bound creature, so not the best beat-down creature. Opponent. Smuggler's Spies, put 2 creatures into play from your hand. Well, we can't let this happen. 3 steps ahead. Counter it. Would like to draw cards there, but I think we need to leave up the get out, because now they can just try to cast whatever they were going to put into play. Trailblazer. Yeah, that's going to work. Well, let's see what the bombs are. Land. 2 cards in hand. Thankfully, there's... Ooh, Vaultborn Tyrant. All right. Get out. Get out of here, Vaultborn. Yeah, we can't have that. That even draws our opponent cards. Opponent passes. Land. Well, let's Unable to Scream this Trailblazer so it can't draw cards. Play the land. Oh, we're down to 2 cards in hand, though. And this Armored Scrap Gorger is going to become a 3/3 here soon. Watch us lose to the Mana Dork. I think we're going to lose to the Mana Dork. About it. Oh, the Cactus Folk. So it's a 4-mana 4/4 Reach Ward 2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, other creatures with power 4 greater gain Trample and Haste. Huh. If it gave it itself Trample and Haste, that card would actually be really good. I don't know. Is it good? I haven't seen anyone play that card. I mean, 4-mana 4/4 Reach Ward 2 is not bad. And then you can trample. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. I kind of like the idea. Well, let's tap down the Sure Shot. Come on. Card draw, please. Card draw, please. This is where Flow of Ideas, or Flow of Knowledge, would be really, really, really nice. All right. Trigger. No value. Opponent. Passing. Ooh, more islands. More islands. Well, play the land. I mean, I guess we just have to... Yeah, this is kind of exactly what we were afraid of when we kept this hand. Like, we're on, what, turn 7 or something? And we've still drawn a single Flood Pit Drowner, which we're now shuffling back into our deck. So it's went kind of exactly like we were afraid it would go, with us just not ever being able to find a threat to get any pressure. Now our opponent gets a 3/3 Scrap Gorger. This one's actually pretty close to being over, I think. I don't think we have the comeback valve from this far behind. Well, into the Flood Maw. Bounce the land. About it. Hits us for 3, down to 17. Exiling our graveyard doesn't really matter. We don't really do anything with the graveyard. Come on, deck. We need a huge draw here. Island. Yeah. Good enough. Good enough, Garul. You got us. All right, so that was a good lesson about not keeping hands without threats. That's what happens. That's what happens when you don't have a threat with this deck. So a good reminder, something we talked about, but a good reminder of how it actually plays out, which is without the pressure, we just eventually run out of counters. Our pressure not only could get our opponent's life total to 0, but our pressure also gives us card draw with Enduring Curiosity. So without having that, eventually our opponent's just going to run us out of counters, and then they stick a thing, and then we lose because our stuff is not good in that position. This hand, absolutely wonderful. We would take this hand pretty much every game, I think. 2-drop flash creature, couple of cheap counters, Enduring Curiosity to refuel. It is what we want to see. All right, opponent, what do you got? What do you got? Land, well, we will flash in Fairy Mastermind. Another land is also pretty good. That means we can get to our Enduring Curiosity on time. Enduring Curiosity having flash is such a huge deal. Opponent, I'm going to go back to plotting. Well, Fairy Mastermind, number 2. Wow, and a flow. Well, I think we're just going to draw some cards. Our opponent can't get to 6 mana this turn, so get in, hit ya, draw 2. Opponent's going to need like a Brothers at end, and even if they have it, we still keep the Curiosity, and we got this flow that's going to be coming. All right, opponent, you need something big. I'll cast a Trailblazer. All right, less likely to have Brothers at end, I think, if they're playing their creature. About it. The Cactus Folk is back. Sure. Opponent gets to draw a card. We get to draw 2 cards. Thank you, opponent. Fairy Mastermind's pretty good. Pretty good. It's a pretty good card. And a Haywire Might. So if our opponent kills the Curiosity, then they can get it back. Well, let's get in with the Flyers. Draw a couple. Yeah. Okay, we just really wanted to draw a card. The Cactus Folk has reach for some reason. Why does that have reach? Oh. See, that's the upside of playing limited cards that no one plays in Constructed. People like me will smash their Flyers into them. All right, we'll discard a land. I mean, we're still in a pretty good spot, I think. We're still in an okay spot, but that was a little awkward, just a smidge. Opponent's down to 12. Armored Scrap Gwaja, sure. That doesn't really matter. Cactus, popping off. Trembling Haze, getting in with the Outcaster Trailblazer. Maybe not. Well, what are we doing about this Cactus? Are we just flowing? I guess we just flow. We don't have any bounce in hand, so we can't. Were they going to answer it? Trumpeting Carnosaur. All right, going to kill the Fairy Mastermind. We draw. Okay, there's some Into the Flood Maws. Those are good. That's what we were looking for. Another Enduring Curiosity also. Not the worst. Yeah, I think we can just discard a couple lands. Play the land. That does have Ward, huh? Well, Into the Flood Maw. I think we bounce the Trailblazer. Get in with the Curiosity. If our opponent trades with the 4/4, we're going to accept that because we have another Curiosity anyway, so this is fine. We get it as an enchantment, although I imagine it is probably going to get answered by Haywire Might. All right, flash in the Mastermind so we don't have to discard a hand size. Opponent. The problem our opponent has, outside of plotting, it's hard for them to do 2 meaningful things in a turn because they have a bunch of expensive cards. All right, opponent's passing. Well, let's get down Malcolm. At least we got rid of that Reacher after only one chump attack. That's pretty good for us. We only chump attacked once. Get in. Hit ya. Down to 8. Just kidding. Bone it. Going to gain a couple life. Hey, where might our Enduring Curiosity? We could flash in the second one, but I don't think we're going to. I think we'd rather leave. We have so many counters in hand. that I think we'd rather just leave up the counters, and then we can flash in Curiosity. We have 7 cards in hand, too, so it's not like we need the card draw at the moment. So I think we just wait. Leave up the counters. We can flash in Enduring Curiosity on our opponent's end step. Smuggler's Surprise. Oh, this is fine. Yeah, if our opponent's just gonna mill and draw some cards, we're okay with that. Opponent mills, so they get what? Land Vaultborn? Well, we definitely cannot let Vaultborn resolve. We haven't seen a Cavern of Souls from our opponent. Cavern of Souls would be annoying. Well, let's get out. Stop the Outcaster Trailblazer. And now if they play the Vaultborn, we can also counter the Vaultborn. If they don't Vaultborn, then we get to Enduring Curiosity. Oh. Huh. Okay. Well, we're not countering that one. Tyrannus Rex. I was not expecting the Tyrannus Rex. 8/8 Trample Haze can be countered Toxic 4 and Ward 4. Sure. I mean, we can take 2 hits from it without dying, which is big. And eventually we can into the Flood mod and pay the ward if we have to. I think we'd rather try to just race it, though. Wow, another flow. Well, here comes the dorks. Opponent. Gonna do some chumping. And gonna exile something, I guess might as well. Not actually relevant, but sure. Alright, opponent goes to 6. We get to draw 2. And loot with Malcolm. Another Malcolm. Fairy Mastermind. Island. Well, pitch the Malcolm. Play the island. And yeah, pass the turn. I think we just take the Tyrannus Rex hit here. I think that's the plan. Like, we can go to 4 and 8. Bonehorde Dracosaur. Well, okay. Well, on second thought, now we might not have to. Let's get out the Dracosaur. And Heaped Harvest, not relevant. Okay. Well, we will just into the Flood Maw. I don't know how that little frog is dealing with this Tyrannus Rex, but we're not gonna ask too many questions. We're just gonna win. Opponent does some ramping and gives us the GG and scoops it up, and mono blue on a budget, still getting the job done. Stack might actually be pretty sweet. Got him. Nice. All right. Budget Magic time. We are playing some mono blue flash in Duskmourn Standard, and it's pretty good. Good enough. Couple of creatures, couple of counters. No card draw at the moment, but we should find some eventually. Let's see what our opponent Game Lord is up to. Well, land. Go. Opponent. Ooh, black, eh? Ay, discard. Oh, this should be interesting. Okay. I don't know how this goes. So the good news is we have a bunch of card draw, which should be really good against discard. The bad news is our opponent might make us discard all of our card draw, and then we lose. Well, Bandit's Talent. Get Out is going to prove its worth here. Get Out has been very good. Like, double blue counter a creature is kind of medium. But the fact that it can get enchantments seems very relevant with Bandit's Talent, Caretaker's Talent. Oh, hey, well, we're going to have to spend our final counter here on this Liliana. Another land. Well, pass the turn. Haha. You can't duress our merfolk now, can you, opponent? Duress proof. That's upside of having no action. No action, you can't duress it. Opponent Ruthless Negotiations gets our land. Ugh, even more lands. All right, well, pass the turn. So what would we like the most? Flow. Flow of Knowledge would be an insanely good draw. Enduring Curiosity also be a relatively good draw, even without a creature on the battlefield. Well, we'll make the creature work eventually. Those are the two biggest. Those are what we'd like the most. Ooh. Okay. That's a problem. Actually, is it a problem? It's kind of a problem. So we can, our opponent takes up, we discard the land, we flash in the Flood Pit Drowner, we attack it. Yeah, we might be all right. We might be all right. We're so low on cards that the symmetrical discard might hurt our opponent more than it hurts us. Is our opponent actually thinking of the classic Liliana no activation? It doesn't happen very often, but there are times when you play Liliana and just choose not to do anything with it. As awkward as that is, if you really don't want to discard anything and there's no creatures, like, but if you don't have anything better to do, you might as well get it on the battlefield. So it leads to like this super awkward play a Planeswalker, do nothing. All right, opponent does decide to tick up. Well, that's fine. We will discard land number 6. Opponent discards a go for the throw. Well, Flood Pit Drowner. 3 steps ahead. The problem with Liliana in this scenario is it can just kind of lock our counters. Like, they just uptick and we have to discard. This is so awkward, but I think... So if we just pass, they take up Liliana, we have to discard 3 steps ahead. If we draw with it, we have to discard what we draw into. I think we just clone the Flood Pit Drowner to stay empty-handed. This is like the awkwardest use of 3 steps ahead, but... Well, I guess the Liliana actually is doing some work here. It also gives us another creature to potentially... Ooh, Karavik. To potentially keep pressuring the Lily. Are we taking up? Yes. Oh, taking down. All right, opponent just going to cash in the Lily. Well, we will sack a Flood Pit Drowner. Fairy Mastermind's not bad. This Karavik is kind of an issue. Our opponent's got some goodies in the graveyard. And they're at 20, so they have plenty of life. Yeah, maybe discard is a bad matchup. I'm feeling like we're pretty far behind here. Ruthless negotiations for Bandit's Talent. Well, yeah, so you can pay with your Karavik. That's fine. Play the Bandit's Talent. We will flash in our Fairy Mastermind. Fizzle the discard. I mean, Fairy Mastermind is nice. At least we can activate it to draw some cards. With second one. Oh, I wish we had another land. If we could double up Fairy Mastermind, that would be so good. Opponent leveling up. Oh, wow. Oh, that's actually insane for us. Let's flash in this Fairy Mastermind. Take the beats. Take our beats from Bandit's Talent. We draw negate. Well, go to combat. Attack, attack, attack. So the thing is, our opponent's going to draw an extra card. But that's going to trigger both of our Fairy Masterminds. So we're going to draw 2 extra cards. So this Bandit's Talent might be helping us here. We get to draw and draw. Opponent, go for the throw. Triggers Karavik. Are we winning this race now? This felt like it was going so badly for us, but I feel like opponent's down to 8. We might just tempo him out. I think we counter one of these. Spend the negate. Stop. It doesn't really matter which one. Stop a go for the throw. Lose a Fairy Mastermind. Draw. Oh my god, Enduring Curiosity. That is the draw we were hoping for. That is a good one. Duress. Oh, opponent's gonna see. They're gonna see their life flash in front of their eyes. The card draw is coming. Opponent passes. Well, Enduring Curiosity. Get in with a Fairy Mastermind. Hit ya. Draw a card. Ooh, into the Floodmaw too. Do we even play a land? Maybe we just hold it for the Bandit's Talent and all these Ruthless Negotiations. I think we do bounce the Karavik though. We want our opponent to have to spend mana on it, so they won't also be able to flashback removal. Opponent, land. Wow, I felt like we were so far behind this game, but I think we're gonna win now. Duress. The funny thing is, Duress is actually pretty good against our deck. Our opponent is just, wow, gotta spend the life. Yeah, Karavik down to 4. I mean, if we draw removal, it's just game on the spot. Funny thing is, Duress should be very good against it. Wow, Flood Pit Drowner. That does it. That does it. That does it. Tap down that Karavik. Out of here, and Enduring Curiosity to seal the deal. Our opponent just had the worst luck with Duresses. Like, they should be super good against us because we have all these spells and counters, but every time they cast it, we had nothing in hand to hit. I don't think we change a ton against this deck. Maybe bring in a little more bounce. Even that, I don't even know if we want it. I think we basically light touch. I think we're pretty well pretty well set up for this matchup, or as well as we can be set up for this matchup as it is. Sphinx is a little weak to Liliana. Maybe go down the Malcolm and just run it like that. All right, Game Lord. Can you stop our winning streak? So far, we're 2-0. 2-0 in Mono Blue. Yeah, I mean, we will accept this. I think against this deck in specific, the card draw is immensely important. Because their whole goal is to get us out of cards. Cards like Enduring Curiosity are just so good against that plan. Enduring Curiosity has really impressed me. Like, the Enduring Cycle, I think, is just inherently powerful because of how they're worded. Like, the coming back when they die is really strong. This one looks kind of like a commander card, but in this deck, oh, it's so good. Ugh. Liliana, eh? Hooray. Well, opponent's going to tick up. Let's flash into Malcolm.
Don't overthink things.
Discard a island, I guess. I don't really want to discard anything. All right, we do another island. That's good. Sadly, I think we do have to go after this Liliana. Yes, Liliana. Wrong day. We get it. We get it. Opponent, you got removal. If they have to cash in the Lily here, that's good news. Not the strongest Lily. If it's 3 mana, everybody discard. All right, they get to keep it alive. Do we want to counter this? We could bounce the Lily as a tempo play. I think it's worth it. I think we bounce the Lily. Opponent gets a fish. They kill our Malcolm. But now we can flash in the Fairy Mastermind, untap Enduring Curiosity, draw a card. And Enduring Curiosity is just a nice Liliana buffer. Like, if our opponent takes down Lily, we sack it, and we still get the card draw, which is the most important aspect of the card. Like, that's why we're playing it, right? Is to draw a bunch of cards. It's nice that it can be a creature and be down sometimes, but that is not essential to Enduring Curiosity being good for us. All right, opponent. What do you got? Lily returns. Certainly. Gonna tick down. Well, we will sack the Enduring Curiosity. Get it in enchantment form. See, it's so good. It's so strong. And now we still have our card advantage engine. And now I think we might just ignore Lily. I think we can draw a card, so our opponent upticking's kind of fine. Maybe next turn we kill it, since it can threaten to tick down again the following turn. But for now, Sheoldred's Edict. We could, like, flash in the Drowner. We could counter. I guess we can counter draw. Yeah, let's counter draw. Seems worthwhile. Pitch a land. Keep our Fairy Mastermind. Hopeless Nightmare. Yeah, let's pitch the Floodfit Drowner. I don't think the Drowner... Our opponent doesn't have that many creatures. Opponent's going to tick up. We might be able to just get empty-handed. Do we have to kill the Lily? That is the question for this turn. Is that Lily relevant? Or do we just ignore it? Next turn it becomes removal again. Although we can into the Flood Mob, but then they just recast it. Well, let's see. We draw an island. Well, let's go face. We're just gonna race. Hit you, draw a card. Plus we get to draw a card. How do we pass up drawing a card? Land, go. I mean, I think if they tick down Lily, it's kind of okay. Lily's gone. They kill the Fairy Mastermind, but then we just replace it with a Stoic Sphinx. Karavik. Yeah, that can get out of here. Opponent being able to reuse their graveyard might be an issue. And Lily. Gonna get rid of the Fairy Mastermind. Sure.
I've always hated crowds.
Opponent gets in. We're just gonna take it. We probably could surprise Chump, but I don't think it matters. Ooh. Fear of Imposter is very good. Get in, hit ya. Down to 9. Draw a card. Enduring Curiosity. Ooh, Negate might be the game. That might be the game winner. Drawing 2 counters is huge. About it. Ruthless Negotiations. Sure, we don't really need into the Flood Maw. Yeah, we just draw enough cards that the discard doesn't... Wow. Sacks the Hopeless Nightmare. We just draw enough cards that the discard doesn't really matter. I mean, that's desperation. The main phase Hopeless Nightmare sack, and I think that means we just win this game. We draw a land, go to combat, get in with the Sphinx. One more turn of attacking, hit you to 4, draw with Enduring Curiosity, play the land. All right, opponent. Can you beat 2 counters and a Stoic Sphinx? Doesn't look like. About it. Thinking, passing, fishing, and Thought Stalker Warlock. Sure. I mean, we could counter it, but it doesn't matter because we just have lethal. Might as well keep the hexproof on the Sphinx, untap, and there's the GGs, and Stoic Sphinx, Enduring Curiosity, mono blue, on a budget. 3 in a row. Did we break it? Did we break it? Maybe. All right, budget magic time. We are playing some mono blue Flash, I guess, in Duskmourn Standard. Taking advantage of some sweet new Duskmourn. Oh, can we keep this? This hand, oh, 1 land. This hand's good if we draw another land. We got threats, we got counters, we got card draw. If we get 1 land, well, all right, we're gonna mulligan. We're gonna mulligan. We're not gonna 1 land, 1 keep it. This hand's fine. I mean, it could be good. Phantom Interference, Malcolm, Enduring Curiosity. Probably depending on what our opponent's up to. Well, I think we keep putting Interference to the bottom. Hello to you, opponent. Hello, hello. Bulgaria. All right. Well, we will see. Fear of Imposter is not the worst draw. So, step 1. Ooh, Velgavas Faithful. Step 1. See if we can get down this Enduring Curiosity, draw some cards. Opponent. Combat. And gets and hits us. Sure. So opponent's some sort of reanimator deck. Well, let's play Malcolm. The problem with this Velgavas Faithful is we can't actually counter it, which is very awkward. Get in, at ya. Opponent. Bitter Triumph. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So that means that Alana's coming back next turn. Does that just beat us? Kind of. Yeah, I mean, I think we have to Fear of Imposters. We need to get in this loop, because we need to find a bounce spell for this 9/9 Trampler. Opponent gets to Manifest Red. We draw a Negate. We'll discard the land. Not looking great, not looking great. Not looking great, because our opponent can just sack this Faithful, get back to 9/9. And then we got to figure out a way to beat a 9/9, which I'm not sure how we do that. I think normally just running out Velgavas Faithful, I think is very bad. Wow, it's another alarm. Jeez, all right, opponent. Here comes the 9/9. Well, play the land. Play Enduring Curiosity. Get in with the Malcolm. Draw a card. Loot. All right, there's Into the Flood Maw. That's good. We're going to discard the Phantom Interference. All right, Into the Flood Maw is what we needed. That's what we were hoping for. That can actually, at least temporarily, deal with Altanka. Altanic, not Altanka. Found it, gets it, hits us. And, say its name, Mills. Oh. Do they get back the Overlord, or do they get back the Reanimation? Gets back a land? Okay. Oh, they have another Velgavas Faithful. Well, play the land. Go to combat attack. See if we can draw some cards. I mean, we are technically still in this. Pound it down to 10. We get to draw 2, and then loot. All right, Fear of Imposters, another Enduring Curiosity, and a land. Let's discard one of the Flow of Ideas. And pass the turn. So we definitely have to bounce Altanic. Overlord of the Baelmerk. Sure. I think that's fine. Opponent gonna get a Swarm Weaver, I assume? Alright, another Velgavas Faithful. Opponent, combat. Swings. Well, alright. Into the Flood Maw. Bounce Altanic. Opponent gets to draw a card. We might be able to tempo him out of this, though. Opponent, land. We also get enough counters on Malcolm that we can start casting stuff for free. Opponent. Gonna get back a Velgavoth. Okay, that's a big issue. Yeah, alright, well, Enduring Curiosity. We draw a Fairy Mastermind. Oh, play the land. Oh, are we just dead? How did our opponent fight so many Velgavoth Faithfuls? What do we do? What do we do? Is there any way we can win on the backswing? Maybe. Alright, I think we just pass. I think we just pass. No attacks this turn. We can take 9 from Velgavoth. We have a handful of counters. And then I guess we need to figure out a way to deal with the Velgavoth. Opponent, another Velgavoth Faithful. Yes, we will counter that. We can't let our opponent just keep looping these Velgavoth Faithfuls. I don't know that we actually have any graveyard hate in this deck. Opponent, Manifest Dread. Combat. Attacks. Sure, we will take 9. Down to 1! We're down to 1. Can we make the greatest comeback of all time? A bonus, Squirming Emergence. Well, we will negate that. And opponent, unimpends. Exiles our negate. Well, go to combat. Swing with everything. Remember, our opponent can't use the Velgavoth cards during our turn. They can only use them during their turn, so they can't negate here. Opponent. Last card is a Drag to the Roots, okay. I mean, that's not great for us. We're going to get to draw 4. We have the flow of ideas. We have to find an answer to Velgavoth, which is a bounce spell. Alright, we draw 4. Floodprince Strouder, Malcolm, land. And what do they have? A Fear of Imposters, a Malcolm, and a Negate. Let's play the Malcolm. Let's play Fairy Mastermind. Play a land, pass the turn. Hey, this isn't great because it means we're going to have to chump block Velgavoth. And our opponent's going to start playing our creatures. Opponent, Malcolm. Combat. Attacks. Well, we will block with Malcolm. Thankfully, Velgavoth does not have trample. So opponent gets another Malcolm, but it's legendary, so playing it doesn't do much. Opponent runs out the Fear of Imposters. So opponent's just trying to put some blockers into play. And an Overlord of the Bailmerk. Okay. Mills some cards. Gets back a Velgavoth Faithful. Man, the grind of our opponent's deck is ridiculous. Well, alright. Floodpit Strouder. Tap down the Bailmerk. Untap. Well, I mean, we go to combat and swing with everything. Opponent blocks. Alright. We hit our opponent to 5. We draw 6 cards. 1. Get out doesn't do it. Negate doesn't do it. Island doesn't do it. Island doesn't do it. Mastermind. Floodpit Strouder. Well, play the land. Play the land. Play the Mastermind. Get rid of the Overlord. And pass the turn. Opponent untaps with all of our cards. Plays an island. I mean, for Velgavoth sitting on the battlefield for a lot of turns, oh, that actually beats us. Oh, come on. All right. Well, our opponent's deck can do the graveyard grind, and we are not really positioned to stop it. The problem here is the Velgavoth Faithful. If they were playing real reanimation, we would be, I think, very, very likely to win. But the fact that their reanimation is a 1-mana creature is very problematic for us. Because it interacts with counters so poorly. Like, ugh, all right. We'll bring in a couple Enable This Creeps. We might have just met our match here, though. We might have ran into... we might have run into the unwinnable match of... I don't know. I haven't really gotten a sense if you need a bunch of graveyard hate in this format. We do not have any graveyard hate in this deck. We could play We could play like Soul Guide Lantern or something, and it would still fit in the budget. Doesn't really fit the theme especially, but that would be a possibility. If we keep running into decks like this, we might have to. This hand's okay. The problem is, even if we answer the Valgavas Faithful, they just have like 8 cards that put it back into hand. So without being able to answer the graveyard, sure. Without being able to answer the graveyard, oh boy, there's the Valgavath. Well, that's not great. Opponent leaves them all in the graveyard. Well, I'll play the Mastermind. Untap, we draw land, which is good. Get in, hit ya. Down to 18. Opponent, land. And Fountain Port Bell, sure. So opponent gets to put a basic on the top of their deck? Alright, that's acceptable. Opponent, passing. Well, let's Fairy Mastermind, number 2. Ugh, a land there would have been nice. Well, get in, hit ya. Yeah, this would have been a good turn to draw land. Alright, so opponent's going to Bitter Triumph a Fairy Mastermind, sure. Well, hit you down to 16. Oh, we really need lands. We really, really need lands. We need lands to the point that if our opponent doesn't do something scary this turn, we're probably going to loot with 3 steps ahead. We probably have to loot with 3 steps ahead. Obviously, if they play Valgavas Faithful, Fountain Port Bell, sure, we don't really care about that. Does not get a land. Well, alright. Draw and discard. We gotta hit the land drops. We gots to. Oh, no! Well, discard one of the Flow of Knowledges. We still miss on... Okay, there's a land. There's a land. That's big. Go to combat. Get in, hit ya. Opponent. Gonna sack to draw. Sure. I would like to run out the Enduring Curiosity, but I think we have to wait. Because if our opponent plays Reanimation this turn, we gotta counter it. Cash grab. Mills, Mills, Mills. Second, say its name. Finds a Liliana. Plays the land. Plays the Liliana. Let's see if they tick it down. Alright, opponent's going to tick it down. So we'll flash in the Curiosity. Sack the Curiosity. Go to combat. Hit our opponent. Draw a card. Okay, we might be stabilizing. We might be past the turn. So we have a card advantage engine online, which is huge. Enduring Curiosity makes this deck. I don't think this deck would work without Enduring Curiosity. Like, that is the card that kind of makes this deck possible. About it. Overlord of the Baelmerk. Yes, that is counterable. Are we taking up? Are we discarding our last card? Are we discarding our last card? I guess they could sack the Bell to draw and then Liliana if they want to. Found it. Passing? Alright, well. Flood Pit's Drowner. Ooh, Fear of the Imposters is a great draw. Yeah, we're going phase. This Liliana can do what Liliana wants to do at this point. Hit ya down to 8. Draw and draw. Play the land, pass the turn. I think we might be good. I think we have enough pieces to keep them from reanimating here. The Fear of Imposters was a really big draw, because we did not have an answer to Valgavas Faithful, but now we do. Opponent land. And we maybe can have a Lethal Clock next turn. It depends on if we need a Fear of Imposters. If we don't need a Fear of Imposters, Stoic Sphinx, Fairy Mastermind, Deadly Cover Up. Well, okay. In that case, the Fear of Imposters, counter it. This does mean we won't necessarily have lethal about it. Passing? Alright, well, Fairy Mastermind. Untap. Combat. Everything face. Yeah, I mean, I think we just flash in another Enduring Curiosity. Draw all the cards. Yes, we will. Wow, it was a Swarm Weaver. Alright, so we get to draw 6. Which in theory should find us a counter, hopefully. Alright, Fear of Imposters, that counts, that counts. Let's discard this. I don't think we need the Flood of Knowledge. It's kind of funny, Flow of Knowledge used to be like the key card draw engine in mono blue decks. Now I don't even know if it's necessary. Like, Enduring Curiosity is so good. Squirming Emergence. Okay. I think we let that go. We can win through a Squirming Emergence. And opponent gives us the GG. Okay, So it is possible. Man, that first game felt so bad for our deck, but that one felt much better. I guess the difference is, does our opponent find Vel'Gavaz Faithful, and how quickly do they find Vel'Gavaz Faithful? Do we need to change anything else? I think we just run it back. We run it back. I mean, we got a game plan. We got a game plan. So far, this deck actually feels very good. Maybe we need some graveyard hate in the sideboard. That is a distinct possibility for this matchup. But in general, the deck actually feels like a pretty good budget deck. All right, Casey. All right, Casey. Can you stop our mono blue? So opponent's on the play. All right. I mean, we're going to try it. No counters. Plenty of threats. Into the Floodmaw could be helpful at some point. Well, plenty of threats. About it. Another land and Fountain. I don't know about this Fountain Port Bell plan. Not sure I'm seeing the power of Fountain Port Bell. I mean, I guess it cycles eventually. Maybe that's the logic. Well, there's a flow. Let's pass the turn. On it. Gonna sack the bell to draw a card. Fortunately, can't get any Fairy Mastermind value off of that one. Opponents. Overlord of the Baelmerk. Alright, we can't stop that. Alright, mills a bunch of stuff. Gets Balkan Altinic. Well, let's play Malcolm. Little looting, not a bad thing. We hit our land. Well, get in with the Malcolm, hit ya. Loot. Discard a... What do we discard? We got to keep the land. I guess it's flow for now. Let's discard the flow. Play the land. I don't know. We might regret that. I feel like this hand doesn't need a draw 5 or whatever, but if we end up desperate, we still don't have a counter. Opponent, Liliana the Veil. Sure. You're going to take down. We will, I think, just flash in a Fairy Mastermind. Sack the Fairy Mastermind.
Haven't you ever heard of
Alright, opponent, more Fountain Port Bells. Are we getting a land this time? Yes. Alright. Well, opponent passes. Impending ticking down. Well, get in with the Malcolm. We need to loot to find a land. Oh, no land. That's bad. Well, okay. That's not great. That's not great. That's very much not great. No counters, no land. Is a scary spot to be at the moment. Found it. Ticking up. We will discard a... I think we discard the Sphinx for now. Opponent discards a land. So we can do their little ramp thing with Altinic. If they fire a Pressless Cottage, we're thrilled, because we can just into the Floodmaw it. Opponent. Thinking. Passing. Unimpending. Well, let's Fairy Mastermind. Opponent. Alright, gonna kill the Malcolm. Well, opponent's officially out of cards for now. Now we draw the land. Well, I think now we actually have to kill the Liliana, unfortunately. Opponent. Gonna draw a card. Alright, Liliana down. Play the land, pass the turn. We'll see what our opponent does. We might be activating this Mastermind. We really could use a counter, and we also would like to keep hitting our land drops. Overlord of the Baelmerk. Yeah, I mean, we can't actually stop that at the moment. Opponent. Mills. Gets back something good, I'm sure. Gets back a Liliana. Okay. Well, let's activate Fairy Mastermind. Alright, there's an Enduring Curiosity at least. Play the land. Get in with the... This doesn't have reach, right? It does not. Get in with the Fairy Mastermind. Hit ya. And pass the turn. So we are going to have to bounce the Overlord. I think the plan is bounce the Overlord, Enduring Curiosity. Alright, opponent's going to play Lily. Sure. Oh, this game's going to be so close. Opponent going to go to combat. Well, we will bounce the Overlord. Alright, let's flash in Enduring Curiosity. Sack it to Lily. So we get to keep our Mastermind for now. Hopefully we get to start drawing cards. We'll see. Found it. Drag the Roots. Alright, that's not ideal. Well, now we kind of wish we had that flow. Opponent, Overlord of the Baelmerk. We draw nothing. Well, let's Flood Pit's Drowner. Tap down the Overlord, play the land. Yeah, I mean, I think we have to keep going face. We have to close out this game somehow. Pass the turn. Found it. Gonna take up. We will discard an island.
We all have things we.
Oh, opponent Valgavoth discarded. And there's a Valgavoth Faithful. Yeah, and that's gonna do it. Oh. Yeah. Well, unfortunate. Stoic Sphinx. Unable to scream. Opponent plays a land. That ward is just too brutal. The ward is just too good. And there's an Overlord. So I guess we need to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The problem is, even if we bounce this, then they just Overlord, get back to Valgavoth's Faithful. So I think what we have to do is bounce the Baelmerk, play a Flood Pits Drowner, play a Fairy Mastermind, play an Unable to Scream. Yeah, Valgavoth is pretty brutal. Sack our board, kill the Lily.
Whatever.
But I'm not convinced all of this actually matters. Like, dealing with Valgavoth is so painful because of the ward that I think we still just lose from here. Ah, Valgavoth. Found it. Gonna reanimate a land. Play another Valgavoth's Faithful. I don't know, maybe there's a, let's say its name. Mills. Oh, that Swarmweaver's an issue. Found it. Gets the Swarmweaver. Passes. Another Unable to Scream. Well, get in with the Mastermind. Hit ya. Down to 10 past the turn. Ah, oh, so close and yet so far. Underground Mortuary. Opponent. Wow, gonna reanimate. Okay, this is actually good for us. We would rather have our opponent reanimate than play the Swarmweaver, because we get to play the Stoic Sphinx. We draw land, not great. Go to combat. Hit ya. Down to 3. Is there a chance we end up winning this? Pass the turn. If we win this, it would be so amazing. So we got to deal with the Swarmweaver. That's the issue, the Swarmweaver. If we can deal with the Swarmweaver, we can Unable to Scream one of the tokens. There's the Swarmweaver. We need one more answer. Opponent. Combat. Hits us. If we can find an answer to an insect, I think we steal this win. We are going to activate the Mastermind end step to try to draw a card. Overlord of the Baelmerk. Gonna do some milling. Opponent gets back a Valgavoth's Faithful. That's fine. I mean, it's basically this turn. We're either winning or losing the game this turn. Fairy Mastermind. Trigger, draw 2. Sphinx. Flood Pit Drowner. Oh my god, we're gonna steal this. Ooh, tap down an insect. Untap. We drew the counter. Unable to Scream. Wow, I can't believe we found a way to win this game. I cannot believe we found a way to win this game. My goodness. Wow, we sacked our board to Valgavoth and still managed to win. Okay, well, if we can win this game, maybe this deck's actually just really good. Oh my goodness. Wow, look at this board we beat with our little 2/1s. Against the 9/9 lifelinker, the 10/10 trampler. Not a problem. Sweet. All right. Budget Magic time. We are playing some Mono Blue Flash in Duskmourn Standard. And, this sounds fine. I mean, when you look at a hand with this deck, you gotta have a threat. We've learned that. If you don't have a threat, the deck really doesn't work. So, try to have at least a threat. Discard. Because what you really want to do with this deck is stick a threat or two, and then protect that threat with the counter spells. Mosswood Red Knight. This will be interesting. I am not sure how this matchup is going to go. Opponent untaps Fountain Port, and going to Duress. All right, well, there goes our 3 steps ahead. Opponent's going to have some mana-based troubles. Let's run out our Malcolm. Untap. Another Mastermind. All right, go to combat, gonna hit ya. Do a little looting. Discard a land and pass the turn. But ooh, all right. Opponent found more colored mana, which is pretty big for them because their demolition field. We are all islands, so there is nothing to target with the demo field. Oh, so this is like Golgari discard. Opponent runs out the Dread Knight. Well, I mean, Fairy Mastermind, get in there. Floodpit's Drowner is not bad. Wouldn't mind finding a counter, though. That would be the best. Hit ya. Loot. Discard a land. Play a land past the turn. I mean, we got the Evasive Clock. We don't have any card draw. Enduring would be sweet. Enduring Curiosity to draw some cards. That would make this way easier. Sentinels of the Nameless City. Sure. And opponent. Gonna crack on the Dread Knight. Finds a land. Plays the land. Cracks the land. Ooh, do they have a cut down or something? Forest. Opponent gets and hits us. I think we just Mastermind here. I think it's worth it. Opponent draws 1, but we get to draw 2. Into the Fledmaw's a decent... Ah, there we go. Not the best counter at this stage in the game, but a counter. Well, get in, hit ya. Down to 9. Loot away an island. And, yeah, I mean, let's just pass. We actually have gotten to free spell mode of Malcolm. Not that it's especially powerful in our deck, but Witch's Vanity. Destroy a creature opponent controls mana value 2 or less. Sure. I imagine they're hitting the Malcolm. Even though overall I think Mastermind is a stronger card. I wonder if they recognize that Malcolm is... Our deck doesn't really have good... Yeah, they do. Our deck doesn't really have good things to put into play for free. Alright, so opponent goes to combat. We are going to Floodpit's Drowner. Tap down the Sentinel. Royal Treatment. Well, in that case, I think we just... Into the Floodmaw. Because our opponent's out of colored mana now. Bounce it. Opponent, wow, they get in. That is an aggressive attack. Mastermind, number 2. Get out is not the worst. Get it, hit ya. Down to 3. Well, we found the Enduring Curiosity. Yeah, let's discard the land here. Oh, oh my god, I'm gonna get so yelled at. We just talked about this too. We could have played something for free. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I don't think it matters, because I think we have this game won, but we could have, should have, would have played this Enduring Curiosity for free. Go for the throat on the Floodpit Drowner. Okay. I mean, you need more than that. Oh, they do have a food. They do have a food. Man, maybe this punt will come back to bite us. Opponent gets in, hits us. We will take it. Actually, on second thought, maybe they will die to an Enduring Curiosity. And opponent, okay. Well, yeah, we didn't take full... I honestly never expected we'd get to the point where we could... where we could cast things for free with Malcolm. I didn't think that was in the cards for this deck, but yes, apparently we can. That is a thing that can happen. Do we want to change anything? Probably not. I could see like an Unable to Scream. Maybe like an Unable to Scream is like an answer to a Shieldred or something. There's nothing. Yeah, maybe we can go down one flow. Let's try it like that. All right. Well, this deck so far has felt very, very strong. Like, if we win this match, we just went on a clean 5-0 run with budget mono blue. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of hands we like. Threats, counters, card draw. That is the deck. Opponent. They probably have Duresses now. All right. Hopeless Nightmare. Let's just discard the Stoic Sphinx, which is a ways away from actually doing anything. Opponent, Fountain Port. Well, land, go. Well, we do need to keep hitting our lands. Opponent, Llanowar Race. Wow! I mean, that is one of the upsides of playing this deck. That is one of the upsides of playing the deck, is that, I mean, it tends to make some people a little salty. So you get some early scoops from people that are just like, I don't want to get all my spells countered. I'm pretty sure if we pull up our untap.gg, I mean, it's wrap-up time. It's wrap-up time. But I think this might actually be not just like a good budget deck, but a good deck, period. Because, I mean, obviously, when it comes to videos, a lot of times we're dealing with small sample sizes, right? We're dealing with small sample sizes. But if we look at our untapped.gg stats for the deck, we are 5-0. Took us an hour and 15 minutes of playtime, 5-0, beat Golgari twice, Mono Black, Jeskai, Prowess, and Gruul, which is very impressive. So the only thing I will say in this, well, I'll say a bunch of things in the wrap-up. The one thing I will say in the wrap-up is we didn't really play against a hardcore aggro deck. And I don't know how a hardcore aggro deck, how we would match up with a deck like that. A hardcore aggro deck that's just like the Gruul deck or something, or the Rakdos deck that's just like curving out from turn one. I could see that being maybe an issue, because our creatures, very good at being evasive, but they're not very big, so they're not great at playing defense, and it might just be that all of our card draw and counter spells are just like a little slow in those matchups. So I will say that. I'm not sure how we do against aggro, but based on our experience, anything mid-rangey, control-y, rampy, the deck feels really, really powerful against, and it's really because of the big new addition. I mean, we got a few new additions to the deck. Floodpits Drowner is huge. Like, upgraded Merfolk Trickster is a ridiculously good card for this deck. It gives us a removal spell that also is a creature that's triggering all of our creature synergies, all of our card draw synergies. Huge, 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 huge. Fear of Imposters was actually better than I thought, to the point where when I read this card, what I see is I counter your, cancel basically. I counter your spell. You get a 2/2. Your 2/2 can block my 3/2, so I basically get a weird cancel out of the deal. But it played really well. It's unconditional. We can always flash it in and not counter something, just have another creature on the battlefield. But the big one, the reason I think that the deck works so well, is really Enduring Curiosity. If you look at the old mono blue deck, back when Curious Obsession was a thing, and that was like a top tier, maybe best deck in the format at some points, budget deck, it was because of Curious Obsession. Being able to just play this Curious Obsession on a creature, snowball that card advantage. Enduring Curiosity, it's more expensive, right? We're not going to do turn 1 Slitherblade, turn 2 Curiosity with a Spell Pierce backup. Like, that's just not going to happen. But late game, Enduring Curiosity is even more powerful because it draws for each creature. This looks like a commander card, but this was the card that was winning us pretty much all of our games. We saw it be really good against Liliana's. The fact that it dies and comes back as an enchantment. We're just flashing this in as sack fodder and keeping the enchantment and snowballing the card advantage. We saw it against like the Velgavoth deck, being able to draw so many cards to give us some chance of being able to stay in the game. It's really, really good. If we're behind, we can use it to draw cards to try to find an answer. If we're ahead, it lets us snowball the advantage to win the game. So I was really impressed with Enduring Curiosity, way better than I expected it to be, because like I said, when I think of these effects, like you draw for each creature that deals damage, I think of commander decks. That's the first thing I think of, and this probably is very good in commander decks too, but it's really, really good in this deck as well. And you just back it up by a bunch of good counter spells. We get surprisingly good removal, like Into the Floodmaw, actually a really good card. So all around, mono blue flash actually seems like a real threat in Standard. Like I said, one asterisk, I'm not sure how it matches up against aggro. We might just get run over against aggro, so maybe not a very good like best of one deck. But in best of three, which is way more mid-rangey, way more control-y, way more rampy, I think this might be one of the best budget decks that you can play in the format on Magic Arena. I think we're 2 for 2 so far, because the Azorius Eerie deck felt really good, and now this deck also felt really good. So anyway, that is Mono Blue Flash. That's been our budget Magic for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.